Welcome back to the Call Up. We're out here in Arizona for the Arizona Fall League coverage. Of course, I'm Aram Layton. He's Jack McMullen. And thank you to Chinook Seedery for making this trip possible, sending us out here. Very excited to get those seeds, by the way. We're going to go pick them up, and we'll be at the ballpark handing them out. Already met some kind folks that listen to the show. So next time I see you, hopefully I'll be able to have some seeds for you, and we'll give those out. But thank you for Chinook sending those out there. They want everybody to try all the different flavors. There's some really good ones. And also, we've already been to a few games. We've got plenty of action so far, and we started hot with a triple header in the first day that we were here. Yes. And that really made things awesome. We got a lot of action the first day. Got to see Andrew Painter make his return for the first time in nearly 600 days. We saw Josue Briceno homer 3 times. Like, we've seen a lot of really fun stuff, and we've got awesome sunflower seeds for you. So this is going to be a really fun couple weeks out here in Arizona.
And a reminder, ChinookSeedery.com, promo code JustBaseball is going to help you get 10% off your order online, and they are literally the best seeds in the world. Like, we're not just saying, it was Elf, right? The scene from Elf where it's like, congratulations, world's best cup of coffee. You know what I'm talking about? It's like, no, this is actually the best on earth. And I will say the cinnamon toast is like, I think that is an unmatched seed because I have a sweet tooth. But again, promo code JustBaseball for 10% off your order at ChinookSeedery.com. The triple header was amazing. By the way, 2 dudes hanging out on the same couch. This is good.
Yeah. So for those on YouTube, like, obviously we're in an Airbnb, and this is the best we can do setup-wise.
It's either use like a slanted dining room table where you're going to watch us at a diagonal, or we're going to do the 2 dudes hanging out on a couch thing. And I'm fine with the 2 dudes hanging out on a couch thing. Shout out Michael Rokicki, who came up to us in Salt River. You mentioned the triple header that we did. We went from Sloan Park in Mesa. By the way, like, all these complexes are amazing. And I want to do like a ranking at the end of it. It's like, these are the best complexes that are in the Arizona Fall League. But we open with Sloan Park in Mesa as soon as like I get off the plane on Saturday morning. It's a 12:30 first pitch. And then we go to Scottsdale, and we see Andrew Painter throw for the first time in like 600 days. More on that in an episode later this week when we do the pitcher breakdown. And then we go to Salt River. And by the time we get to Salt River, like the sun's down. It's you spent all day in 100-degree heat. We're sitting like, 10 rows up from where we were at the other ballparks. And, Michael is walking up in like the 6th or 7th inning. It was like, oh my God, they're just baseball guys. I'm like, this is the jolt we needed after a long day in the sun. That was awesome.
That was awesome. So Michael, thank you so much for saying hi. And if you're around, we'll have some tasty seeds for you too next time you come and say hi. But that was awesome. Yeah, it's cool too because there's so many interactions that we consistently have on Twitter where it's just I just see the name and I know the name, but I don't really know the face.
It's so fun to shake your hand.
I was like, oh, okay, Michael. I registered Michael, but then when he tweeted at us, I'm like, oh, I know you, Michael. Yeah, so that was really cool. But
mailbag aficionado, Michael. Okay,
absolutely.
I mean, all the time, this guy is giving us great mailbag questions.
I love that. That was awesome, and that was a great way to wind down the day. It was probably the least. I don't know. We had a couple not like blowout type games, but that one was very lopsided.
I think the lineups kind of dictate how bought in you're going to be, and that was kind of the dud of the
situation too. And we'll talk about that probably next episode. We're going to do mostly hitters in this one, and hitter standouts from the handful of games that we've seen so far. But it was not an impressive showing from Yankees prospect Carlos Legrand.
It
was not his best showing. We'll talk more about the pitching side of things, but I do want to just get off the top here. Like, I know it's a hitters episode. We still have to just briefly touch on Andrew Painter.
Yeah, for sure.
Hit 100. Looked the part. Like, I was looking back at the pitches, mixed in some changeups, and I'm sure as he's been working back from TJ, that was probably a focus. Like, hey, let's just continue to get that feel for the changeup and this time off. Like, take advantage of that.
Yeah.
I think when he gave up some hard contact, it was some hanging changeups. Who cares? He hit 100. He was sitting 90, 98, 99. I don't think he threw a pitch below 96.9.
Dude.
And he looked free, easy. He didn't look like he was guiding it. He looked like the guy that we saw before, just with a little bit of rust. And that's to be expected after 580, whatever, almost 600 days
of not
pitching
days
in a game setting.
I will say, like, I don't even know if it was, rust in the first inning. Like, he looked like Andrew Painter in the first inning. And he sliced and diced through Bryce Eldridge. And we're going to talk about Eldridge in this Giants system here a little bit later on. But, like, he made mincemeat of one of the most impressive prospect performers in minor league baseball this year. Yep. And I was like, wow. That's Painter. That's the reminder that it's him and Job and everybody else on the pitching side. And I know that, we're getting a top 100 update very soon, and there are some guys that have made their case to be in tier 1 of the pitching prospects. I think Job stands alone at this point because he's been available and he's been just so darn good. But, like, names like a Bubba Chandler and a Noah Schultz and a Kumar Rocker, like those types of names, they're tier 2. The question is Painter at the very, very front of tier 2, or is he in tier 1 with Job? And I think that first inning was a huge statement of, I never left. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And I think that he still is very much so a tier 1 pitcher.
I can't wait to see the next outing, too. Because, there's probably some, just like, even though it wasn't a big crowd or whatever, just adrenaline and some nerves, just like, I'm back. Like, I mean, this was the way that it all lined up. It was such a big layoff for him. So, I mean, I'd imagine there was just some, and it was the first up down, too. So getting back up there well for the second inning may have just felt a little bit different. So I'm just excited to see what it looks like next time out. Yeah. And I bet you he's just going to look better and better and better as he builds up, out here. And it's perfect where he can build up here, go into spring training, be built up even more. And he can be a little bit more, I mean, they're going to be careful all year, but the guardrails can be a little bit looser as he gets going in the regular season because he's had a little bit longer of a runway to build up.
So my thought on that is, he's in a position to succeed in 25 for sure. I think this AFL performance is more of a bonus to his offseason than next season. And I say that because this guy can, feel the flow of 4 or 5 days rest and you go out again, 3-4 times. I read somewhere that Painter is going to get probably around 20 innings in the fall league this year. And like, you get those 20 innings, all of a sudden you enter the offseason and you can have a normal offseason. Yep. It's not a build-up offseason where you're treating it differently than the one you're going to have when you're 25 years old. Yep. Like, this can be, hey, I'm pro. Let me treat this. And it essentially is his first offseason. He got drafted. He appeared in the complex. Okay, I get it. That's your first year after the draft. That's a hard year to have a quote-unquote normal offseason. Then he kills. He has that normal offseason. He comes back. So this is his second normal offseason. He was deprived of one of those and a huge part of his development. And now he has the opportunity to go into it like, hey, my arm might be a little bit tired because I've thrown 20 innings this month. And I hadn't done that in, 600 days. And now he can go into the 25 season working off of a normal off-season strength program and a normal throwing progression and things like that.
There's no more rehab. There's no more, it's just...
No, it's like, I'm Andrew Painter again. Like, let's go do this.
Which is great.
Yeah. So we will, we'll make our way through the hitters that we've seen to this point, and I think the guy that stood out more than really anybody else in our first couple of games that we've seen out here, I think we're, 5 games in?
Yeah.
Moises Ballesteros of the Chicago Cubs. And I know that is a hot button name on the Call Up podcast because it's very clear that he has some defensive deficiencies. The bat is too good to ignore. That was essentially what our takeaway was.
Yeah,
right?
The bat is crazy. And like we knew that, like we saw that in Indy when we saw his AAA debut, but this was a different level of a hitting performance here where I mean, he goes pull side, 111 miles per hour for a home run. And then just a few ABs later, he's behind in the count and he's shooting a single the other way for a couple RBI, to left field. And the body control that this guy has, and we're able to get right there. And there's some open side video that you can look at on my personal Twitter as well, where you can just see the way that he operates in the box. He's an athlete, man. Like that's how he's able to get away with his build, to be honest, and still be as successful as he is. But it's amazing how like mobile he is in the box, and I'm hoping that can spill into the catching side of things. He didn't look bad catching wise. No one ran on him, and that's been the big issue. But in terms of like blocking and everything, like nothing that stood out there compared to what we saw in Indy, where he was battling with some pass balls and things like that. But it's a little bit less intense, obviously, in the fall league. And I don't think guys are as worried about trying to get chase and spiking it, and guys aren't running quite as much. But
but you do have guys working on it, so they may spike it.
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, overall, I thought he looked fine. He drove in 4 runs, though. Like, again, the offensive side of things, like the bat is just too freaking good. I think at this point to overlook him in any way, and I don't think anyone is overlooking him. Right, he was a just miss for us in the top 100, but like this bat alone is just good enough to carry a big league role one way or another. It's just that the difference could be if he could even just be a passable catcher. Now we're seeing the offensive side of things is just so immense because the power is there clearly, but the feel to hit is there as well. And, I mean, the guy has a pretty good approach, too. He got a little expansive in AAA, but, I mean, if you watch these games so far, like, it seems like he's kind of settled back in there. And, I mean, I don't know if there's going to be anybody else who's putting up much more consistent numbers than he is. And, I mean, you look at the last 3 games in the AFL for him, 2 hits, 3 hits, 2 hits. Yeah. And that 111-mile-an-hour homer.
Yeah, and, I mean, I'm thinking about, how a 20-year-old fits into the big league scope next year because he proved what he needed to prove in AAA, I think. Yeah. Defensively, obviously, there's going to be, perpetual improvement there that is needed. But at the end of the day, offensively, what more does this guy have to do in AAA? He takes it into the Fall League. What more does this guy have to do than what he's done in the first week of the Arizona Fall League at this point? The answer is not much. So you're thinking about a guy that doesn't turn 21 until, I want to say, November 8th is his birthday. Like, he doesn't turn 21 until November 8th, and I'm trying to figure out if it makes sense to, like, hey, Miguel Amaya, you're the backup now because Ballesteros is going to be grayed out as a poor defensive catcher at the big league level, but, like, he's going to be the catcher on opening day. I don't think that's going to happen because there probably are still leaps and bounds in terms of defensive development that need to take place, but I'd be curious to see where he spends the offseason. If he spends it in Mesa, that could tell you a lot.
Yeah, and I think he will. Like, I think he's going to be working real hard this whole offseason on the catching thing because he knows, like, the bat's there, right? I mean, the only thing, again, on the offensive side is final 40 games of the season, he was chasing at a 34, 35% clip. That's too high. Yeah. Like, he's going to need to cut that down. But he's a guy that can get away with that because the field to hit is so good.
And hitting's also really fun, so, like, why would you keep the bat on your shoulder?
Yeah,
I get it.
When you're hitting that well, there's no reason to, and that's exactly what he's doing. Even through that stretch, was still hitting well. So, I mean, I'm sure that's one thing that they pointed out to refine, and that'll be fine. But, like, it's a very unique situation when you have the bat so advanced and then the glove being a work in progress to this degree, and then you have the clear-cut deficiency at the big league level at the position. It makes it a really tough situation where you almost feel like you have to force him in and kind of throw him into the deep end as a catcher. Maybe that's the way to do it, and he can learn there, but I still think, he's got to probably start the year in AAA, get those reps. But what we're seeing now offensively is that this guy could be a value to them as a DH for sure with how good this bat has been. So for sure, he might just be a guy that they can say, okay, well, he catches twice a week. We'll just, grit and bear it as he develops. But his bat is so valuable that, if we have him in the lineup 5 days a week, 6 days a week, we're better as a team. I don't think it's crazy to say that at all.
There are 3 prospect bats that the Cubs need to figure out reps for at the big league level next year. It's Ballesteros, it's Matt Shaw, and it's Owen Casey. Yeah. This is going to be a fascinating offseason for the Chicago Cubs to see how they get Owen Casey in the lineup, how they get Ballesteros in the lineup, how they get Matt Shaw in the lineup. I feel like the easy answer that we've talked about ad nauseum is Nico Hoerner. Like, Horner's probably gone. That clears your way for Shaw.
And Bellinger, I think, should get moved, too.
So if Bellinger gets moved, all of a sudden, PCA is the guy, and then you've got Happ and Seiya. Do Seiya and Casey split the DH spot? But then what about Ballesteros? Yeah. There is a puzzle on the north side of Chicago, and, like, I'm fascinated to see which pieces are swapped out for other pieces that fit a little bit better.
And we might get an answer as soon as the, I think it's
winter
possible.
Meetings.
It's as soon as the winter meetings because Casey's Rule 5 eligible.
Yep.
Obviously, they're not going to leave him exposed, so that's going to be a guy you add to the 40, and they're going to want to go make moves as well, and that's another spot on the 40. So I think hopefully we'll see things start to get going there where it'll be interesting, but I'm excited. I think the Cubs are one of the biggest teams to look at in that regard.
Guy that is very far away from the Rule 5 draft is Jack Caglianone. 3 months after being drafted in the top 10 by Kansas City, he is out here in the Fall League. My takeaway has nothing to do with what he does in the batter's box. He is the most physically intimidating player in minor league baseball.
I think so.
And when he gets to the big leagues, it is top 5. He's up there with Judge. He's up there with Stanton. He's up there with Ohtani. Like, this guy is a physical specimen. And it was crazy to sit first row behind the on-deck circle and just see, like, you are Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
It's, like, absolutely insane the way this guy's built.
250, and it's like all muscle.
Yeah.
I mean, it is crazy. And it makes sense that this guy is able to produce the exit velocities that he is able to produce. I mean, it's just the same conversation in the box, though. I want to say, though, at first base, looks very comfortable.
Yeah, it was fine.
Picking it well. That's fine. Please cut down on the chase. It's the only thing. It's really the only thing. He put a really nice swing on a changeup from Walkinshaw and lined it for a base hit into right field. And like he battles pretty well with 2 strikes. That's the thing, man. Like you can fall behind in the count. You can take a strike or 2 because he actually has a good feel for the barrel.
He does so many good things in the box, which is what I feel like makes the chase even more frustrating for you.
It's like he's giving it away in the first at bat. I know it was a tough left on left matchup, but it's just a perfect example, right? Where he's facing Sammy Natera and he gets a 97 mile per hour fastball that's 2 balls up and a ball inside. Yeah. So it's a ball and he swings at it. Okay, maybe he was a little geared up for velo. It's left on left. That's okay.
Yeah.
But then the next pitch is a slider on the bottom outside corner that he also swings at. So at that point, I'm thinking, okay, if you were geared up for velocity, that makes sense. You just got caught in swing mode. But then if you're also swinging at that slider breaking away from you, that just tells me that you're swinging no matter what.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets tough for me because it's like that when you see those 2 extremes, kind of chases on both ends, then that to me is like, okay, you're either not seeing the ball well at all or you just don't really have any plan up there at this point. Yeah. And I feel like it's more the latter. So I want to see him have more of a plan because if he's not chasing at a 40+% clip, I think this guy has as much upside as anybody in minor league baseball. And I think we saw flashes of that.
Yeah.
I mean, when he barrels one up, it's ridiculous. But he also has the ability to spoil. So yeah. I want to see that. And hopefully that's something that shifts a little bit more and a little bit more as, he gets more reps out here. Because the other thing that stands out to me is like he's able to pull pitches that are balls away to right field for not only like extra base hits, but sometimes homers and definitely singles. And again, I'm looking at that Walkinshaw single. It was a changeup that was a ball outside. And he hit it 102 miles per hour at 9 degrees for a base hit into right field.
Yeah.
So like he can get away with sometimes expanding a little bit.
Right.
But you can't just give away strikes. And that's what I feel like he's been doing a little bit of.
Yeah, and I am a little bit worried about that when he gets to AA next year. I would assume he starts in AA next year because I know the numbers were not out of this world in high A in
but
his
he's
pro
here,
debut.
So it almost tells me they want to get this thing rolling.
Right. It's not like, you're going to go repeat high A and we need to figure more stuff out. They have a month to figure stuff out here in the Arizona Fall League. So I think they're going to go about doing that, and I think he's going to go to AA, and AA is really hard. It's nice that he's going to be in the Texas League and he can see some balls fly. And then he goes to a hitter-friendly ballpark in Omaha when he does, eventually get there. But at the end of the day, like he's going to continue to level up. And I think they are going to value seeing the upper minors pitchers here. And those are the kind of guys that I feel like the Royals would be very keyed in on. Like a J.J. Piccolo will be very caring about the AAA arms that he's seeing. And they might not be great AAA arms. They could be a 27-year-old guy that just needs more innings. But at the end of the day, their execution is at a higher level than what he was seeing at the high A level. And, it's pitch rec versus plate discipline, and it feels like more of a plate discipline thing than a pitch rec thing.
Yeah, 100%. And it could be a little bit of both, but it definitely seems like a lot of it is just the plan because I'm showing you're sitting next to me.
Yeah.
Look at this 1-0 swing. So I'm showing Jack a 1-0 swing where it's a fastball that is a ball off away.
And he's a big guy with long arms.
And he hits it for a double.
Yeah, and I get it. It's like, wow, I can do damage on that. Okay, great. But wait for a pitch, a ball in. That is clearly a ball.
Yeah.
You don't need to get your hands extended on that. Make your wheelhouse in the strike zone.
Exactly. It's like, and maybe that's easier said than done because like you said, it's hard to keep the bat on the shoulder when you're crushing balls. Yeah. I always said that about PCA, right? How are you going to convince a guy to swing less when he's hitting 300, which is what he was doing everywhere? I think he's already kind of started to understand that because it didn't go the way that he wanted.
Yeah, you got to fail a little bit.
And that's going to be the thing I'm keyed in on. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. And this is a one where you can do small sample size theater and just watch individual at bats and say, wow, that was a good take.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, he took a 2-0 fastball on the edge for a strike. He's getting more comfortable, getting deep into counts. Yeah. And I think that's what we'll look at. So overall, though, just validating that this was our first live look at Cags.
Uh-huh.
He's every bit of the physical specimen
and
the powerful freak that I think can. I don't know if anybody in minor league baseball has more power upside than him. I would say no. Like if it all works out, this guy can hit 50 home runs.
Yeah,
and I think it's not ridiculous to say at all.
Him and a guy that we saw the day earlier in Bryce Eldridge, and we're going to talk about Eldridge in a moment. But those are the two guys that jump out. Maybe Xavier Isaac as well. In Tampa.
But even like it just Cags has a different level of like punishing the baseball.
Yeah, well, and a different level of oh my God, you're huge. Like that type of. He elicits that reaction that I haven't really gotten from a guy other than like. David Ortiz when I was young. I was like, you're humongous. Yes. That's crazy. Yeah. There are very few guys that have that physical intimidation factor that Jack Caglianone has. A guy that doesn't have it but really hasn't failed yet is Colt Emerson of the Seattle Mariners. And, we got dinner with Larry Larson last night, who's out here doing announcing. He's the voice of the Dunedin Blue Jays. Great guy. And Larry, I asked him, who have you been most impressed with out here? And it was snap of a finger. I mean, Emerson.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I get it. We saw not his best day, but we saw a guy that was A, physically mature for 19 years old, and B, somebody that seemed pretty damn comfortable every time he came up.
Yeah, that's the big thing. I'm glad you mentioned that. He definitely looks comfortable, and he's a guy that, to me, looks like he's got his swing down. He's got his moves down. Like he likes where he's at, and I don't blame him. It's why I think one of the smoother and like just more repeatable swings in the lower levels in the minor leagues, and that's why he's always been graded out as one of the higher hit tools we have on the top 100. But I think another interesting thing with it too is like this is a challenge for him with a lot of these arms, right? He just turned 19. Sure. He's missed time in each of the last 2 seasons. He's only played at the lower levels. Like he really only played a little bit of high A at this point in his career, and he looks crazy comfortable. But not only that. He has the 4 double day, and then he follows that with 3 hits. But then the game after that, he punched out 3 times.
Yeah.
And like sometimes that can snowball on guys out here. You start to feel like you're just getting a stretch of the tougher arms.
Yeah.
But he turns it right back around in a 2-hit day with no strikeouts the very next day against the same team.
Yeah.
So it was nice to see that. He just looks crazy comfortable. I'm just excited to see more on the defensive side. Didn't see too many balls hit to him or anything. I just want to see how the shortstop defense continues to develop. In terms of the hit tool, I got no questions.
Right.
I think it really just comes down to how much power. Is it going to be more of the doubles? And you could tell, you mentioned it, like, and the big report in the buzz going into this year was Emerson put on about 10 to 15 pounds of muscle.
Yeah, you could totally see that.
But seeing that translate into game power a little bit more, I think right now it is in terms of like you're seeing the EVs a little bit, you're seeing him go gap to gap, but he seems like a guy that's definitely hit over power, which is fine. I just wonder how much power is going to be there. I can see it coming. Like you can see the potential for it. You can see that there's at least average power in there. But what I like is even if he stalls out a little bit in the impact department, I think from the swing and just how long that barrel stays in the zone, how he gets on plane, like that's a guy that even if the power is 10 to 15 home runs, which I won't be, I think he can hit 20 plus.
Yeah.
I still think he's a very exciting bat because this guy's going to hit 280 and get on base at a high clip. I think assuming things keep progressing the way that they look like they are.
For sure. Now the one, I guess, beige flag would be you worry that the ground ball rate elevates to a place where, that gets kind of concerning.
Yes.
Right?
That's definitely, and I think that's probably the missing part, right? I think it's a great point. Like he makes a lot of contact and, so I think sometimes the swing can almost get a little too flat. Like, sell out for a lift a little bit more. You're in Arizona. Let's see if the ball flies a bit more. And I think he did that with some of the doubles where it was like backside and gappers. But I'm with you. That's a 51% ground ball rate. That's the one thing that I think will hold him back because the EVs aren't going to be elite enough to get away and have the massively high BABIP that some guys like a Juan Soto can get away with a high ground ball rate because he's either hitting home runs or
he's hitting the ball 110 on the ground.
Exactly. So that's the thing to watch. But the approach, the comfort. I think you nailed it where it's just he looks like a guy that's I think been playing for 3-4 years professionally.
So same exact thing can be said about Leo Vries with San Diego. And we haven't really gotten an elongated look at him. He DH'd. We saw him get 3 plate appearances. They were quick, but for 17, 18-year-old guy, it's insane what this guy just the overall level of I'm here, I'm the guy.
And just not getting blown up. We're going to talk about it, and you alluded to it, but I mean, Leo Vries in the game that we saw looks more comfortable than Bryce Eldridge. And again, that's one game. It is what it is. But Eldridge finished the year performing in Double-A. DeVries finished the year hurt in Low-A.
Right.
And so, I mean, that whole aspect is crazy. And there's some interesting stories out about the Padres maybe wanting to be very aggressive with Vries, and depending on how he looks out here, like he could inspire them to do that. Open side video I have on Twitter as well of his double. Just a beautiful swing from the left side. We've been talking about the right-handed swing is ahead of the left-handed swing.
Yeah.
But, his first AFL hit comes from the left side. And it was a nice swing because it seemed like he was a little out front.
Yeah.
And the big thing I always watch with him is like, can you keep the weight back on the left side? Because
stay balanced.
A lot of guys are right side dominant. You switch hitter, it's a lot easier to control and stay in your right hip versus your left. And, he's been getting better and better with that. Stays through it, hits it off the base of the wall, and chugs into second. That was awesome to see. We haven't got to see him play shortstop yet, and that's something I know you are very excited to see. I've kind of told you a little bit that I actually think there were some questions about that. People were like, oh, he might move to third or whatever. Video dive I did when we did the Padres system, I came away thinking he's got all the tools to be able to do it. So like now I want to see it in person as well, and I know you do too.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see that on Tuesday.
By the way, sorry, turned 11. Turned 18 on the 11th. Turned 18 on the 11th.
Okay.
Crazy.
Happy belated birthday, Leo Vries.
So young.
We saw him a day after his 18th birthday. That is insane. The other teenage wonderkind in the San Diego Padres organization showed less experienced. Is that the right word? Mature, I'd say, in the box than Leo Vries. Ethan Salas. Like, I don't want to say it was more of the same from what was happening in high A, but the 4 plate appearances that we got, it was kind of more of the same.
Yeah, it was interesting because the day before he had a pair of doubles. Yeah. And one was a left on left, and then another one on a pretty good slider located on the outer half, like a back door. And both were good swings. And then unfortunately the game that we saw, it was a lot of the same where it's can't really keep that weight back, loses it forward and rolls over. And that's mostly what we got. It was some tough ABs where he gets like a Jackson Lancaster, a more polished lefty that, left on left is going to make him uncomfortable. And then after that, it just felt like kind of rollovers and just kind of getting outclassed a little bit by some more advanced arms. Catching wise looked great. And that's what we know. Like,
but he looked great when he was 16 in big league spring training.
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, it was just 4 ABs. He had 2 doubles the day before, so I'm excited to just see more of him. And when he's using the whole field, and that's the difference, is like the 2 doubles, he was staying back and driving the ball in the air the other way. And then in this game, it felt like he was rushed. Yeah. And when he's rushed, that's where he comes out of the base and it's rollovers to second. I think you can tell when Ethan Salas is not going well when it's not strikeouts. He honestly battles and does a pretty good job of mitigating the strikeouts. If he starts rolling over to second base, it's not a guy that's going to pop up and strike out more. I think when he starts rolling over to second base, you start to see that he's losing that lower half control. And to me, it just looks like a young hitter that's still learning how his body moves and feeling that all. And just not a guy that I want to aggressively push.
Hey, they're gonna.
Yeah. And that's the thing. But I mean, the talent is there, you can tell. And I'm just excited to see more ABs.
Love it. We are going to get to Bryce Eldridge finally, but we're going to delay a little bit longer. Quick break. Okay, now Bryce Eldridge of the San Francisco Giants. He was dealt a tough hand with Andrew Painter. After that, though, he got a slew of arms. Like I know he got Peyton Pallette as well. He got some good arms. I will say it was guys that threw mid-90s, and mid-90s were pretty challenging for Bryce Eldridge.
Yeah, I mean, the Painter at bat, it's hard to...
He
got 100, he got 100, and then he got 99, and then he got an 84-mile-per-hour slider that just was
like a really
perfectly buried.
That was a tip your cap, AB. Mm-hmm. The other ones, it's like, there's some immaturity.
Yeah, the Pallette one was interesting. He just looked rushed, too. Yeah. He was another guy that we've seen Eldridge hit velocity, but for whatever reason in this one, he just looked rushed where he had the 2 Pallette fastballs in 96. And don't get me wrong, the fastball had some life to it, and it does. But
Pallette looked good. We'll talk about him on the next
But, other guys were hitting the fastball. Yeah. And he did look good. I like what we saw overall. And, especially with pitchers, you can't dive into the results too much. The defense is so bad out here because the sun is so bad. Yeah. Guys are playing positions that they don't normally play. Xavier Isaac's playing the outfield, right?
And they're tired.
Yeah, they're tired. They don't care as much on the defensive side, I don't think. But yeah, I mean, like in his example with a guy like Pallette, if you're not catching 96, you're screwed because then you're going to get that changeup, and that's exactly what happened. He swung over the changeup. But this is valuable stuff for him, right? Like this was a tough game where even a Trent Baker, like that's a pretty experienced arm. He ends up working a walk against him. And then I don't know much on Kelvin Ramirez, but he's able to smack a single there and kind of salvage the ball game later on. But yeah, he just looked rushed and a little long, and he looked like a 6'7", 19-year-old there, which, it's going to happen. But I think so far in the early going of the AFL, I think the velocity has been a little overwhelming for Eldridge, and that's good because bigger, longer, hitter in terms of the levers and everything. Velocity is what he's going to have to need to be ready for at the big league level. Here's an opportunity where you have a lot of guys throwing hard out here, a lot of like relievers, and I think just getting more comfortable and being ready for that velo.
Well, and it's like it gives you something to work on going into this year. If he didn't come out to the Arizona Fall League, what's his takeaway from this year? Damn, like I'm him.
I'm awesome.
I'm him. I'm awesome. I got from low A to triple A, and I was good literally everywhere.
Yeah.
Now it's like, okay, well, I saw Painter. I wasn't better than Andrew Painter. Like I may not have been better than Peyton Pallette on that given day. Like, let's find a way to negate that, to curb that. And I feel like Eldridge will probably go into this offseason with a plan of attack. And like, hey, where's he from? He's from Virginia. I'm sure they have like high velo machines there. I don't know exactly what it's called there, but like Mimic, like I'm sure they have something there where it's like pump this thing up as hard as it goes, and like I'm gonna figure out how to get to it. Get the ride, and like I'm gonna try and get to it.
Yeah, that's it.
So it's awesome. Another guy, Colson Montgomery of the Chicago White Sox. Not much to take away there offensively whatsoever. I will say he passed the on-deck circle test. I turned to you. I was like, this guy looks a lot better physically.
He's a big dude.
He looked young physically at the end of the 23 season, and now I'm just like, you're big. Like, wow, he can play third base at the major league level.
Yeah, and the power can be immense. The problem is it's the same swing that we were talking about when we did the White Sox system, where it just there's not much lower half involvement, and it's very pull dependent. I mean, it's out and around everything. And so I think out here, the goal is obviously going to be to try to utilize the whole field more and start driving the ball the other way, and also I think just using his lower half more to tap into more power. But we didn't really get a chance to see too much. He's been very patient, which is good, and even stole a couple bags the other day, which was nice to see. But he's played 2 games at third.
Okay.
And I think that's telling. Yeah. Because we've talked about it. I've always thought that he's a guy that was going to move off a short, and he hasn't played much third at all. Yeah. At the minor league level. Understandably so. They wanted to give him every opportunity to play short. Yeah. I think playing short was a lot for him as a 6'4" guy that's 21, 22 years old, adjusting to AAA. You also have to adjust and handle a AAA shortstop. Right. And then also get your bat going. Right. And he was facing adversity on both ends. And now I think you move him to third. That's a place where he can absolutely play well. He has a good arm. He has good enough range there where it'll play fine, where I think at shortstop he stretched very thin. And as he gets more comfortable reading hops and the actions, I think that'll almost take some pressure off of him in the box as well, and just be able to focus on the bat, which can be awesome. It's plus power. He's flashed a good feel to hit. He's got a good approach. I think it's telling that he's played 2 of his 4 games here at third base, with one of them being DH as well. Yep. So I think that is interesting, and I think it's better for him in the long run. And you look at the situation for, the White Sox going into next year, like, you got Brian Ramos, and I still really like Ramos, but he can play second, man. Right. So I think this, if you're looking at the White Sox trying to put their best foot forward next year and being realistic, like if I'm rushing Colson Montgomery, I feel a lot better about rushing him as a third baseman. I know it's technically not rushed because he played a whole year in AAA, but he wasn't ready.
They're not going to. Like, Moncada is immovable at this point. Yes. Moncada is making $20 million next year. It is the last year of his deal.
I think he's going to get released or something, though.
You think they're going to eat?
Because they didn't play him at all at the end of the year, and they were saying we're focusing reps on guys that are going to for sure be here next year.
So let me pull up Yohan Moncada's actual spot track thing. It's a club at 25. Oh,
yeah. So he's gone.
Yeah. See ya. Thank you for your services, Yohan Moncada. Yes. Okay, there we go. So Colson Montgomery. Yeah, it does feel kind of like a rush, even though he played the entire year in AAA.
Yeah, 100%. And I think if I still think he should play in AAA to start the year. Yeah. However, If he's playing third, I feel a lot better about it because, I mean, you know, like it's so much more encompassing to take on shortstop and handle that, especially at the big league level. Like, I think it will pay dividends to him as a hitter as well. But that said, like, he still needs to make some adjustments in the box, and I'm just waiting on those. And I think those may come here in this controlled setting. It's still very early.
And you have budding superstar Lenin Sosa ready to take over at shortstop for the Chicago
he went
White
deep
Sox.
in the Winter League yesterday.
Lenin Sosa did. He went deep like every game for the White Sox in the last week too. He was balling.
I still think he could be a solid big league.
Yeah, it's just funny because like he was just so bad to open up his big league career. It was like, oh man, this is brutal to watch. It was very Foscue of him. It was just like, it's like, oh man, like I love you, but you were just overmatched at this point. So a guy that is not far away at all from a big league debut, and assuming his feet are still on his body, he will probably be there on opening day next year, is Chase DeLauter of the Cleveland Guardians. You know I have some bugaboos with that swing. We saw him hit a couple balls incredibly hard in Salt River on Saturday night. Yeah. At the end of the day, he's really strong. The bat lives in the zone, it feels like.
It's the Christian Campbell conversation.
Yeah, I don't love watching it at all, but it works, and I mean it's not broken yet. Like he's been really good when he's been on the field.
It's the objective versus subjective conversation, right? Where objective is the numbers and the data. You can't deny the numbers and the data. The subjective is the swing and what you imagine the swing to be able to play like, and how it's going to work at the big league level. And it was funny, you know, just looking at, we were talking about it at that moment, and right then, he finds a barrel and laces one into, I think, right field for a base hit. I mean, there's nothing for DeLauter to show here other than the fact that he's healthy and he's the same guy.
Yeah.
And I don't think we've ever said this about a hitter, but I almost feel like he should start the year in the big leagues next year because why waste bullets?
Why waste bullets?
And like, I'm saying, like, why even have him be in the minor leagues, you know, risking getting hurt or whatever? I'd rather him be in the big league level. One, if he gets blown up finally because the mechanics are a little bit off, then you also have that realization, and you can either have him adjust at the big league level and work through it, or at that point, then he goes to AAA with some new intel.
Yeah.
But he's going to continue to feast on AAA pitching, if healthy.
Yeah,
he's just going to continue to do it. And like I think his mechanics are a little bit more conducive to success at the big league level than a Christian Campbell.
Yeah,
but at the end of it, like you're either way, it's still two swings that you are outlier swings. So
correct. Until
they get a chance at the big league level, you're not going to know if it's fully going to work, and if it's not, what they need to work on. So. I mean, DeLauter especially because of you know the injuries, but still even the parts of seasons in AAA, the success in spring training, I think it's going to require another good spring training. I expect that to happen.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think for him, it's really just getting healthy here, and I don't think anything else really matters other than that.
And the objective is this. In 96 minor league games, he's hit .317 with a .904 OPS, and the other objective is he played 6 regular season AAA games with Columbus. He had 6 extra base hits, and he K'd twice in 27 plate appearances in AAA. So it's like the objective is undeniable. Let's see him in the show. I'm with you there, and you will see if guys can execute a fastball up and in 3 times to him. And you know, if they do, like that gives him more ammo. That gives him more intel on what to better. But at the end of the day, you're right.
And the swing decisions are good, and that's the big thing too.
Yeah.
And like, it's not the same because like he drifts and gets tied up. Like Mike Trout, right? We always talk about this. His swing path was always geared to destroy everything, and middle and down.
He's got a blue zone at the top,
quite blue.
Yeah,
but he chases like 3% above the top.
Yeah,
DeLauter, he's not there yet, but Trout wasn't there yet when he was coming up. If DeLauter can really like commit to that approach too, he can eliminate those blue zones enough where, I mean, he's not going to miss a hanger. You've seen it. And his field of hit is so good too, though. That's the thing. Like, as a professional, his in-zone contact rate's near 90%.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those guys where, and the out-of-zone too is really high. So it's fun stuff. And I think for him, he's probably going to DH most of these games. They don't want him to put any more wear and tear on those feet. And,
no.
I think the goal is just to get himself ready, make up for some lost ABs, and put him in a position where he can show like, hey, he's ready for the big leagues and break camp. And man, this is a Guardians team that they're in the ALCS right now. They're probably not going to spend a ton of money, but this is another guy that they can add to the fold.
I was going to say, like, not only are the Guardians in the ALCS, but you just compared their top prospect to Mike Trout. So, I know, I'm kidding, but like, Guardians fans are like, whoa, like we've got everything going for us right now. So it's good. Good for you, Guardians fans. Some Salas for Tigers fans. The same day that they got bounced, Josue Briceno had a 3-homer day. It was the performance.
You think they call it a wash now?
I think so. It is the performance of the Arizona Fall League to this point. He took Painter deep. I think it was a changeup that was outer half kind of fading away that he got out on.
Just got tagged finally. It was a slider.
It was a slider.
Which is pretty great. It was pretty well located. Like, it wasn't a bad pitch.
Yeah, but it kind of backed up on Painter, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, it should have been hit.
Yeah.
It should not have been hit for a 108-mile-per-hour home run.
To dead center.
Yeah, to right center.
Right center.
It was like right center.
Yeah, a little bit right of the batter's eye. The other 2 homers, like, obviously taking Painter deep, 108 to right center is amazing. But, like, the fact that he did it again to the pull side, it was majestic. And then the third one was like, oh, my God, you got it again. That was incredible from Josue Briceno on Saturday.
So here's my favorite part about this whole thing. 40 games in low A, where he posted a 123 WRC+. Yeah. But 40 games in low A, he had 2 home runs. 4 pitches, he has 3 home runs in the Arizona Fall.
So my thing is, who did he hit the 3rd homer off of?
Peyton Pallette.
So, but like, if you're Pallette, and you got a guy who has drilled 2 of the first 3 pitches that he's seen. I know that, like, you're not prepping for hitters really in the Arizona Fall League, but, like, why are you giving him something very hittable on the first
I don't
pitch?
think he meant to, because it was a changeup.
Oh, yeah.
And he left it up, and it was just up.
Yeah,
up.
And he was like, oh, let's do this again.
Right,
yeah,
if you insist, Peyton. But the thing is it was a changeup still, and it was a first pitch changeup. Yes, it was a hanger, but a lot of young hitters, hanging changeup, they roll over.
Yeah.
Because they're sitting fastball. So to take a 93-mile-per-hour home run from fastball from Trent Baker for a home run, but then also have an elevated changeup that he stays back on and punishes that one out to right field, this was an incredible hitting display. Yeah. And this is a guy that looks healthy and looks like he is able to move in the box again the way that I think people were really seeing in spring training. He was a popular breakout candidate for obvious reasons. He's 6'4", 6'5", 200 pounds, and controls his body really well. But this is also a dude that missed 3.5 months with a PCL, a strain.
Yeah.
And, he's a catcher, was a catcher. I don't know what the plan is here. But what's interesting is, I think trying to take on that, being that big and catch every couple days, that's probably a lot for a 19-year-old that's, is big enough to be like a wing. And I wonder, and he's not, like, when we did the Tiger system, I put a 30 on that glove, 40 future. But
here's one for you, real quick. Sorry to interject, but like, here's one for you. Aside from Sal Perez, name me a big catcher that has lasted a long time in the big leagues.
I mean, there's not a lot, man. A long time? I mean,
I'm thinking about guys like Wieters, and like that's the thing. I got to go back to Matt.
There's probably
Wieters.
some sneaky guys that like are taller than we think.
Not like Jonah Heim, but like Heim has a smaller frame, I'd say, than Josue Briceno at that point. Like, I don't know.
How tall was Joe Mauer? 6'5". Joe Mauer was 6'5".
Mauer was 6'5". Okay, but like Mauer was
declined pretty steep.
Yeah,
too.
I mean, dude, like there are not a lot of guys that have longevity as a big body like that behind the plate.
And I just wonder if they decide to, and in our write up of him, we put, I expect him to move to first base. I didn't think it was going to happen, in the next year, because why not give him time?
Yeah.
But now you have a PCL strain that he comes back from. And in that time that he was out, you acquire Tyron Lorenzo, who's also still a project as a catcher, but has a lot more potential to stick there.
Yeah.
Briceno looks like a bat that can climb quickly. Yeah. But if he's catching, it's kind of the same conversation as like Ballesteros, where I know the bat isn't Ballesteros range, but the bat is good enough to fly through the minor leagues.
I think
a big reason why the power didn't totally shine through was this is a guy that it's a slow early load, a leg kick, and he had a knee issue. So like it's really hard to control that and feel that. And I think since he's come back has looked a lot better and a lot more comfortable. Yeah. And so far I don't know if it's precautionary or what it may be, but both starts in the field have been at first base, and every single start that he made down the stretch when he came back in August, was at first base and DHing. Was that precautionary, or are they starting to move him to first because, hey, the guy that I see here could be in West Michigan and could be in Double-A Erie by June with the bat. Yeah. But as a catcher, wouldn't be. So I wonder if that's going to inspire them to be a little bit more aggressive. And they don't have a ton of bats at the upper levels. So that isn't something to monitor. And I wrote about that in the Arizona Fall League notes, which you can find in the episode description. I'll be doing those every 2 days. So stay tuned on that. I'm basically going to be writing up everything that stands out, data, information, and maybe some conversations that we're having with players, because you can find out a lot about teams' plans with guys too out here, which is cool. So
for sure,
I'm very fascinated to see what the plan is. But this is a bat that I think Tigers fans should be excited about.
And I'm just curious which one of these quote-unquote catchers is saddled with Clark and McGonigal. Like we were talking about that last night. The final 2 months of the year was Lorenzo, Clark, McGonigal at the same level. Next year, is it Clark, McGonigal, Lorenzo, or is it Clark, McGonigal, Briceno, and Lorenzo bunny hops him?
I think Lorenzo is going to be in double, and I think it's going to be this trio in West Michigan to start the year. But that's just my guess.
That's very exciting. A guy that is the polar opposite in terms of stature is Drew Gilbert of the New York Mets. We didn't see too much from Gilbert. I will say, shockingly small. And I know that we saw him on the backfields, but like it was just another reminder in the Arizona Fall League. Like we saw him in March. It's like, wow, you're pretty small. And then we saw him in the Arizona Fall League, and we're watching him swing, and I turned to you, I'm just like, how much power is going to be here?
Yeah, that's the thing. Because that's a guy that, like, if I told you, oh, well, he can go get it in center field, it's like, okay, it makes sense.
Okay, sweet. He's going to slap the ball around the ballpark. He's going to have a bunch of doubles, and he's going to go play a good center.
He hits the ball in the air a lot, so it's like, okay, he'll sneak out 15 homers. Maybe good year, he can in the right environment. Oh, cool. Man, he hits 20. But it's really most likely 15 homers. And now, I mean, since he's been out here too, it's only a few games, but it's right, and left. Yeah. This guy in the corner is going to need to really, really hit because, the power, again, he's going to outslug the EVs a little bit. And he did that even this year, 10 homers in the 65 games when he was hurt. And you'll get 2023. He did provide some power too. I think he can hit 20 if he's in the right situation and, can elevate to the pull side consistently enough, which he does. But it puts so much more pressure on the bat, the fact that this guy is now playing a corner. And it does stand out that, like, there's not much to dream on physically here. He's already 24 years old. I think what we're looking at from Gilbert here is very clear at this point, which is just how good of a hitter can you be? And because he just needs to be a really good hitter. Like, it's not like, and I'm not saying it from like a power and whatever. Like, he needs to be a pure hitter. Yeah. And I'm just interested to see how that looks out here because the contact rates have always kind of been fine. Yeah. So I'm just trying to figure out what his archetype is.
Right. I have no idea. I can't help you with that. We go to the other borough, and it's Caleb Durbin of the New York Yankees. You teased Carlos Legrande, and we'll talk about him on the pitcher episode. Durbin, a hitter in the Yankee system. He is a guy that is older. What, he's 25 years old?
24.
He's 24 years old at this point.
25 by the time the season starts. So
he's Rule 5 eligible.
Yeah.
You can do the draft sound.
He'd be my first pick. Unless I'm forgetting somebody, and we're going to do that. Obviously, that's coming up.
Right.
My pick would be in immediately Caleb Durbin if he's not protected.
We're talking the Rule 5 draft. We're not talking a fantasy draft in MLB The Show. We are talking the Rule 5
I'm
draft.
talking both.
Yeah. Caleb Durbin, it's funny. Like, not once have I ever thought about saying in a winter league or the fall league or spring training that this guy is playing scrappy winning baseball. But like, I watched 9 innings of Caleb Durbin. It's like, you're a scrappy winner for the Salt River Rafters, huh?
He's getting added to the 40. I think it's going to be a moot point. And that's why the Yankees sent him out here. It's like that Oliver Dunn situation where, if even if you don't want to carry him on the 40 the whole year, now he's showing well for other teams to where you can trade him. That's exactly what the Phillies did, right? Yeah. They trade him to the Brewers, and they got some, 2 decent prospects, flyers that, aren't 40-man implicated. So, I think that's what the Yankees are looking at here. They're going to get an extended look at Durbin, who, did miss some time, I think, with injury, but still played a lot of games this year, and I think, showed quite well. And they're going to get an extended look to decide, okay, is this someone that we think can help us in maybe a utility role next year? Yeah. And if not, okay, well, a lot of scouts are seeing this guy and they're going to like him because it's easy to like him. Yeah. And we saw it. I mean, the guy, even when he's not barreling stuff up, and he'll sneak some out to the pull side. Like, he can sneak 10 home runs in 92 games.
For sure.
Or 90 games. But he also, like, it's flares anywhere. Like, he spoils pitches. He just finds knocks.
He's a grinder.
90% in zone contact rate this year. But what I love too is, I mean, they got him all over the place. He's playing third. He played a game in center. He's playing short. Like so far, he's played 3 games in the field: short, center, third.
Dude.
And he can play some left. He can play all over. So I think this is a awesome utility guy. And I think I was the most annoying about him when we were at the game. He also stole 2 bags, by the way.
Yeah.
I kept like nudging you. I'm like, look at this flare to right. You know, like every single time. I'm like, oh, well, look at this one. He just snuck through the left side. But like hustle doubles,
right,
grinding out ABs. I love these guys. Like I love these types of players. I think Durbin. We talked about it last year as a guy that was one of the most underrated in the Yankee system. And I mean, again, if he's available, like that'd be my first Rule 5 pick.
He's going to be a fan favorite with the Colorado Rockies or the Nats.
He'd be so good out there.
He'd be awesome in Colorado. Yeah, get out to Colorado, Caleb Durbin. That would be phenomenal. We'll wrap with 5 fun swings from the weekend of watching ball. Kemp Alderman with the Marlins, Andrew Pintar with the Marlins, Creed Willems with Baltimore, Kervin Pichardo with the Pirates, and Christian Robinson with Arizona. That's a name right there. But Kemp Alderman with Miami. This guy, did you get the EV on him?
I was shocked at how low it was.
Yeah, but like Alderman, I will say, we talked about Cags' frame. We talked about Colson Montgomery's frame. Kemp Alderman is a muscle hamster.
Yeah, it's almost like too much. I think it almost makes him stiff.
Yeah, I believe it.
I think he's almost too like muscled out.
Right, dude. I mean, it's crazy. Like that guy might be rocking like a 1% body fat. That's
he's
crazy.
listed as 6'3", 250.
No. He's 225 and
it's
all
all
clean.
muscle. Yeah, it is crazy. He hit a ball straight out to dead center. It was 106.4. But it was a fastball high that got out in half a second.
Yeah, I don't believe it.
I don't believe it. I thought it was 115 off
You're
the bat.
right.
Which, by the way, he's already hit one like 116 or 117 out here in the fall. Like, he has some of the best raw power in the minor leagues.
Wow.
It's just a matter of, can he make enough contact? And, he had a 90th percentile of 109.3 this year.
Dude.
So, like, again, it's elite.
Huge.
It's elite power. It's just, can he get in the air and can he hit enough? I don't know. But, I mean, that is the best raw power in the Marlins system, and there's no doubt about that, and we saw that in real time.
In a 9-inning sample, I was more impressed with Andrew Pintar in the Marlins organization than I thought I would be.
Yeah, he was a good get for them in that deal for AJ Puck.
Yeah, it was Davison and Pintar. The fact that you got more on Davison, wow.
Yeah.
And the fact that it looks like this, too. Like, he looks like a big league 4th outfielder.
He was way better in center than I would have expected.
Yeah.
He was making nice plays out there. He looked comfortable. There's a question of how much power is going to be in there. And I know, he was performing quite well before the trade. And I think the D-backs felt like they're probably selling high there and makes sense. But, I mean, that was a guy in addition to Davison de Los Santos for AJ Puck. The defense is what really stood out to me because that's a guy that, again, we talk about, like, okay, the offensive profile, it's like, okay, fringy power, the hit's not, plus.
Yeah.
What's that profile? If you can go play a decent center, that helps a ton, and that's exactly what he was doing. I think that helps a lot.
Organizations should be stockpiling people like that.
Yeah.
Like, if my org was filled with Andrew Pintars in AA, I'm a very, very happy GM or a director of player development. We go to Baltimore, and everybody needs somebody like this. Creed Willems.
Yes.
Creed Willems popped, a 114 and a 113
in the
yesterday?
Same game.
In like back-to-back plate appearances. He is... I don't want to say like unassuming in terms of the build, but like it's not one of those where you say, yeah, this guy's for sure a big leaguer, right? He does not look the part, but at the end of the day, he swings the part. And it is pretty damn impressive to see from Creed Willems.
I mean, I was not expecting that kind of thump.
I was
he looks like he has thump, but he's 6 foot 220.
Yeah.
And he looks like about that build.
Right.
And I don't know. I just was not expecting him to have that much bat speed and quickness. So he's a sneaky athlete. And I mean, there were some impressive swings, man. And he's been doing that at points this year where, like, I think he had a 116 earlier in the season.
Did he?
But to do these, back to back, the 113 and 114, he has been scorching the ball nonstop pretty much since he's got here. He now has 4 hits in his last 2 games, and all of them are hit like quite hard. I don't know if he's going to stick at catcher. It's kind of the same conversation there. But, that might be a big league bat one way or another.
He didn't look bad behind the plate.
No, he wasn't a disaster at all. He looked totally fine. There's definitely some progress that needs to be made there overall. Yeah. But, he didn't look like a liability to the degree that I was maybe expecting. I mean, but this guy is just hitting the ball hard left and right. He had a 110 the day before as well.
Wow.
I mean, this bat could play. He might be trade bait. I don't know. And that's what always happens with the guys that are out here. Again, they show well. I mean, there's clearly a hierarchy here of catchers in the system and even guys that are kind of like first base catcher. Yeah. But, I mean, he's either going to play his way into another org or he's going to play his way more significantly into the Orioles' plans, at least just as a, hey, we're going to respect this bat here.
He's young, man. He's young. He's got tons of time. He's a young 21 years old?
Yeah, young 21 years old.
Yeah, come on, man. Two more guys. Kervin Pichardo with the Pittsburgh Pirates. I knew next to nothing about Kervin Pichardo coming into this, but tell you what, like, he looked pretty damn good defensively, and he put some decent swings on couple of like high level pitchers in Scottsdale.
He hit an Andrew Painter fastball 114.5 miles per hour.
Yeah, dude, like damn.
I know it wasn't the best year for him. It was an OPS like in the high 600s, but we talked about him in the preview, right? Where he got a decent payday, did he not?
I think he got a decent payday, yeah.
In that Pirate system, but I mean, there's some power here. There's some thump. I mean, you hit a ball 104. You turn around 98.5 at 114.5, and like, okay, there's something there from a guy that I don't really like know who that is. So
100K.
100K. Okay. So I mean, I don't have much other than that, but he looked a lot better than a guy whose stat line looked like it did
for
this
sure.
season.
Last but not least, Christian Robinson with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Christian Robinson was overmatched with a punch-out early in the game we saw in Salt River, and then he hit a tank a little bit later in that one. It is interesting to see him in the Fall League. It does feel like kind of the last-ditch effort to see if there is prospect intrigue there with a Christian Robinson, a guy who obviously has a very loaded backstory to him in the Diamondbacks organization, but at the end of the day, it is tantalizing athleticism, and it's a matter of bat on ball. He didn't do it too much, I don't think, in his recent stretches, but that homer was majestic.
That homer was majestic. I mean, the speed and power combination is crazy.
Yeah.
But he went 2 for 5 in that game with 3 Ks and a home run. There's so much power potential there, but he missed so much development time as well. I mean, not playing for multiple years and then just jumping right back into it. And they had to try to make up for lost time, so pretty much sent him straight to Double-A after a quick taste of Low-A, and that was, I think, a pretty big test for him. I think 2023 was abbreviated. That was kind of the first test where he got to play Low-A, High-A, and get that feet under him type of situation. But in the last time we had seen him play was instructionals at the end of 2020. Man. So you go from November 2020, first game action again is May of 2023.
Yeah.
It's just not going to come back that quickly. So you figure that 2023 season was like, okay, let me just try to remember how to hit a baseball again. Yeah. And then the 2024
and it was better than that. The 23 season was better than that.
Yeah, he was solid.
It's 65 games, Low-A, High-A, Double-A. He had a 915 OPS.
So that's the thing. And so he performs well there. I mean, you look at the age, you're like, oh, okay, now he's 23 years old and he's struggling in Double-A. He didn't really have a normal progression. So he gets to Double-A, and he struck out a lot this year. He really struggled. But that's a big push for a high school guy that
hasn't played in 2 years.
Hadn't played and really didn't have a normal progression. So that's why I think the Diamondbacks don't want to fully give up on him yet, because you have a guy that is still running a 90th percentile of 106 miles per hour, that is patient as well, and that has tools, like crazy. So it does kind of feel like the show me something last ditch effort, like you said. But if he shows anything here, I think that will give them a little bit more pause to say, okay, let's give him one more year and see what happens here. And I mean, it's just too much talent to fully give up on. And I think the flashes of what we've seen were a reminder of that.
Yeah, that's our hitter update.
That's all we got.
That's all we
reminder,
got.
If you're out here in Arizona, come find us. If there's a game, we're probably at it. If there's 2 at the same time, then shoot us a DM and we'll try to let you know where we're at.
I'll tell you whenever you're listening to this, Tuesday we are going to be. I want to say the 1:30. There was only one 1:30 game, and then we'll be in Mesa at night. Tuesday we'll be in Peoria at 1:30 Pacific, and then Mesa 6:30 Pacific, and then Wednesday through next Monday, that's all Aram. So it's on him to tweet out where he's going to be.
I will be doing that because, again, we got some awesome Chinook seeds to be giving out. Barbecue's my favorite, and I'll be giving out less of those, so because I'll be eating them here. But excited to get some Zaire Hope looks. Excited to get some more looks at a lot of different players out here. Grant Taylor on the mound, hopefully in the next few days. Also, very excited to see how that looks. So many more updates to get you. So much more to talk about, and we'll be doing that for the next week and a half. As always, thank you for listening. Look forward to talking prospects with you later this week.